Swadika, welcome to ASEAN Connect. Up to the year 2017, there are 1,073 World Heritage Sites registered by UNESCO. 832 of these are cultural sites, 206 are natural sites, and 35 of these are mixed sites. There are many World Heritage Sites in ASEAN, and 24 are cultural heritage. And ASEAN Connect today will take you to see these cultural heritage in ASEAN, which will help us to understand more about the diversities in this region.
Angkor is one of the most important archaeological sites in Southeast Asia, stretching over some 400 square kilometers, including forested area. Angkor Archaeological Park contains magnificent remains of the different capitals of Khmer Empire from the 9th to the 15th century. They include the famous temple of Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom, the Bayon Temple with its countless sculptural decorations. UNESCO has set up a wide-ranging program to safeguard this symbolic site and its surroundings. Situated on the edge of plateau that dominates the plain of Cambodia, the temple of Preah Vihear is dedicated to Shiva. The temple is composed of a series of sanctuaries linked by a system of pavements and staircases over an 800-meter-long axis and dates back to the first half of the 11th century AD. Nevertheless, its complex history can be traced to the 9th century when the hermitage was founded. The archaeological site of Sambo Praikuk, the temple in the richness of the forest in the Khmer language, has been identified as Ishanapura, the capital of the Denla Empire that flourished in the 6th and early 7th centuries AD. The vestiges of the city cover an area of 25 square kilometers and include a walled city center as well as numerous temples, 10 of which are octagonal, unique specimens of their genre in Southeast Asia. Decorated sandstone elements in the site are characteristic of the pre-Angkor decorative idiom, known as the Sambor Praikuk style. The art and architecture developed here became models for other parts of the region and laid the ground for the unique Khmer style of the Angkor period. This famous Buddhist temple, dating from the 8th and the 9th centuries, is located in central Java. It was built in 3 tiers, a pyramidal base with 5 concentric square terraces, the trunk of a cone with 3 circular platforms, and at the top, a monumental stupa. The walls and balustrades are decorated with fine low reliefs, covering a total surface area of 2,500 square meters. Around the circular platforms are 72 open-work stupas, each containing a statue of the Buddha. The monument was restored with UNESCO's help in the 1970s. Built in the 10th century, this is the largest temple compound dedicated to Shiva in Indonesia. Rising above the center of the last of these concentric squares are three temples decorated with reliefs illustrating the epic of the Ramayana, dedicated to the three great Hindu divinities, Shiva, Vishnu, and Brahma, and three temples dedicated to the animals who serve them. Sangiran early man site became famous after the discovery of Homo erectus remains and associated stone artifacts in the 1930s. There is a very significant geological sequence from the Upper Pliocene until the end of Middle Pleistocene by depicting the human, fauna, and cultural evolutions within the last 2.4 million years. The property also yields important archaeological occupation floors dating back to the Lower Pleistocene around 1.2 million years ago. The cultural landscape of Bali consists of 5 rice terraces and their water temples that cover 19,500 hectares. The temples are the focus of a cooperative water management system of canals and weirs known as subak that dates back to the 9th century. The subak reflects the philosophical concept of Trihita Karana, which brings together the realms of the spirit, the human world, and nature. This philosophy was born of the cultural exchange between Bali and India over the past 2,000 years and has shaped the landscape of Bali. Luang Prabang is located in northern Laos at the heart of the mountainous region. The town is built on a peninsula formed by the Mekong and the Nam Khan River. Mountain ranges encircle the city in lush greenery. Luang Prabang is an outstanding example of the fusion of traditional architecture and Lao urban structures with those built by the European colonial authorities in the 19th and 20th centuries. Its unique, remarkably well-preserved townscape illustrates a key stage in the blending of these two distinct cultural traditions. The Champasak cultural landscape, including the Wat Pu temple complex, is a remarkably well-preserved plant landscape more than 1,000 years old. It was shaped to express the Hindu vision of the relationship between nature and humanity, using an axis from mountain top to river bank to lay out a geometric pattern of temples, shrines, and waterworks extending over some 10 kilometers. 2 planned cities on the banks of the Mekong River are also part of the site, as well as Pu Kao Mountain. The whole represents a development ranging from the 5th to the 15th centuries, mainly associated with the Khmer Empire. Malacca and Georgetown, historic cities of the Straits of Malacca, have developed over 500 years of trading and cultural exchanges between East and West in the Straits of Malacca. Malacca demonstrates the early stages of this history, originating in the 15th century Malay Sultanate and the Portuguese and Dutch periods beginning in the early 16th century. Featuring residential and commercial buildings, Georgetown represents the British era from the end of the 18th century. The two towns constitute a unique architectural and cultural townscape without parallel anywhere in East and Southeast Asia. archaeological heritage of the Lengong Valley, situated in the large Lengong Valley, the property includes 4 archaeological sites. The property includes 4 archaeological sites in 2 clusters, which span close to 2 million years, one of the longest records of early man in a single locality and the oldest outside the African continent. It features open-air and cave sites with Paleolithic tool workshops, evidence of early technology. The number of sites found in the relatively contained area suggests the presence of a fairly large semi-sedentary population with cultural remains from the Paleolithic, Neolithic, and Metal ages. Few ancient cities includes the remains of 3 brick-walled and moated cities of Ha Lin, Bektano, and Si Kaset, located in vast irrigated landscapes in the dry zone of Irrawaddy River Basin. They reflect the Puyu kingdoms that flourished for over 1,000 years between 200 BC and 900 AD. The 3 cities are partly excavated archaeological sites. Remains include excavated palace citadels, burial grounds, and manufacture sites, as well as monumental brick Buddhist stupas. Partly standing walls and water management features, some still in use, that underpinned the organized intensive agriculture. The Baroque churches of the Philippines is a serial inscription consisting of 4 Roman Catholic churches constructed between the 16th and the 18th centuries in the Spanish period of the Philippines. They are located in separate areas of the Philippine archipelago, 2 at the northern island of Luzon, 1 at the heart of Intramuros, Manila, and other in the central Visayas island of Iloilo. The 4 churches are outstanding examples of the Philippine interpretation of the Baroque style and represent the fusion of European church design and construction with local materials and decorative motifs to form a new church building tradition. The rice terraces of the Philippine Cordilleras is an outstanding example of an evolved, living cultural landscape that can be traced as far back as 2 millennia ago in the pre-colonial Philippines. The terraces are located in the remote areas of the Philippine Cordillera mountain range on the northern island of Luzon, Philippine archipelago. While the historic terraces cover an extensive area, the inscribed property consists of 5 clusters of the most intact and impressive terraces located in 4 municipalities. They are all the products of the Ifugao ethnic group, a minority community that has occupied these mountains for thousands of years. Vigan is the most intact example in Asia of a planned Spanish colonial town, established in the 16th century. Its architecture reflects the coming together of cultural elements from elsewhere in the Philippines and from China with those of Europe and Mexico to create a unique culture and townscape without parallels anywhere in East and Southeast Asia. An important trading post before the colonial era, Vigan is located at the river delta of Ebro River along the northwestern coastline of the main island of Luzon in the province of Ilocos Sur, Philippine archipelago. The Singapore Botanic Gardens is situated at the heart of the city of Singapore and demonstrates the evolution of a British tropical colonial botanic garden from a pleasure garden in the English landscape style to a colonial economic garden with facilities for horticultural and botanical research to a modern and world-class botanic garden, scientific institution, and place of conservation, recreation, and education. The Singapore Botanic Gardens is a well-defined cultural landscape which includes a rich variety of historic landscape features, plantings, and buildings that clearly demonstrates the evolution of the Botanic Gardens since its establishment in 1859. The historic city of Ayutthaya, founded in 1350, was the second capital of the Siamese kingdom. It flourished from the 14th to the 18th centuries, during which time it grew to be one of the world's largest and most cosmopolitan urban areas and a center of global diplomacy and commerce. Ayutthaya was strategically located on an island surrounded by 3 rivers, connecting the city to the sea. Once an important center of global diplomacy and commerce, Ayutthaya is now an archaeological ruin characterized by the remains of the tall prang, or reliquary towers, and Buddhist monasteries of monumental proportions, which give an idea of the city's past size and the splendor of its architecture. Situated in the lower northern region of present-day Thailand, the historic town of Sukhothai and associated historic towns is a serial property consisting of 3 physically closely related ancient towns. Sukhothai was the political and administrative capital of the First Kingdom of Siam in the 13th and the 15th centuries. Sri Satchanalai was the spiritual center of the kingdom and the site of numerous temples and Buddhist monasteries. The third town, Kamphaeng Phet, was located at the kingdom's southern frontier and had important military functions in protecting the kingdom from foreign intruders. The Ban Chiang archaeological site is a large prehistoric earthen mound located in an agricultural area in the Ban Chiang sub-district, Nong Han district of Udon Thani province in northeast Thailand. Ban Chiang archaeological site was the center of a remarkable phenomenon of human cultural, social, and technological evolution, which occurred independently in this area of Southeast Asia and began at Ban Chiang around 1500 BC and spread widely over the whole region. The complex of Hue monuments is located in and around Hue City in Chua Tien Hue Province, in the geographical center of Vietnam and with easy access to the sea. Established as the capital of unified Vietnam in 1802 CE, Hue was not only the political but also the cultural and religious center under the Nguyen dynasty, the last royal dynasty of Vietnamese history from 1802 to 1945 CE. The complex of Hue monuments is a remarkable example of the planning and construction of a complete defended capital city in a relatively short period in the early years of the 19th century CE. It is an exceptionally well-preserved example of a small-scale trading port active in the 15th to the 19th centuries, which traded widely, both with the countries of Southeast and East Asia and with the rest of the world. Its decline in the later 19th century ensured that it has retained its traditional urban tissue to a remarkable degree. During the 4th to the 13th centuries, there was a unique culture on the coast of contemporary Vietnam, owing its spiritual origins to the Hinduism of India. This is graphically illustrated by the remains of a series of impressive tower temples in a dramatic site that was the religious and political capital of the Champa Kingdom for most of its existence. The Mai San Sanctuary is an exceptional example of cultural interchange with an indigenous society adapting to external cultural influences, notably the Hindu art and architecture of the Indian subcontinent. The Thăng Long Imperial Citadel was built in the 11th century by the Vietnamese Lý dynasty, marking the independence of the Dai Viet. It was built on the remains of a Chinese fortress, dating from the 7th century, on drained land reclaimed from the Red River Delta in Hanoi. It was the center of regional political power for almost 13 centuries without interruption. The 14th century Ho Dynasty citadel, built according to the Feng Shui principles, testifies to the flowering of Neo-Confucianism in the late 14th century Vietnam and its spread to other parts of East Asia. According to these principles, it was sited in a landscape of great scenic beauty on an axis joining the Truong Son and Don Son mountains in a plain between the Ma and Bui rivers. The citadel buildings represent an outstanding example of a new style of Southeast Asian imperial city.
These are all the cultural heritage of ASEAN, and in the year 2017, 82 are added to the tentative list to be considered to become the World Heritage Site in the future. And what is very interesting this year is that Phra That Phnom in Nakhon Phanom province in Thailand are being considered and already approved to be included in the tentative list. And this is all for ASEAN Connect for today. See you again next time. สวัสดีค่ะ